So the first point, just take a macro perspective, right? So when you think about how do you actually go about capturing alpha, right? I can tell you the best way to actually avoid being able to capture it. So when you actually invest in an asset class where everyone's pursuing the same strategy, where they're actually sourcing capital from the same set of people, where there's the same set of criteria being used to evaluate those asset managers, they've all attended the same sort of universities. They all they've all worked at the same sort of firms prior to actually setting up their individual investment firms. And so when you think about that from the top down, right, everyone is actually deploying a similar strategy, similar backgrounds, they've gone to similar schools, right? You by definition will not be able to capture alpha by going down that perspective. It's great in terms of being able to vet perspectives, vet essentially sort of the outlier risk. It's great for that, but it's very difficult to be able to capture alpha. And so what we've done is that we actually invert the way that we approach. So every investment professional within our holding company, they're former operators. So we don't have a separate team of former operators to come in and partner right next to the investment professionals. No, everyone that is in fact a current investment professional has had at least 10 plus years as an operator. And so that's invaluable insight. The second thing we do is that we specifically think about businesses in a holistic perspective, because in addition to being former operators, we also were former strategy consultants. And so we think about businesses across three different dimensions. So the actual finance, dimension of the business, the operational dimension of the business, and then finally the strategic dimension. And so we think about and sort of make and provide guidance to our portfolio companies in a holistic and integrated fashion. So we're looking to optimize across all three innovations. In addition to that, we specifically look for instances where we can introduce targeted innovation in at least 2 out of those 3 dimensions, ideally 3 out of the 3. And so ultimately, when you're pulling all of those 3 levers simultaneously, introducing controlled, targeted innovation, you actually, within the context of looking for transactions that are highly complex, difficult to understand, right? That's how you actually push through and capture outside investment return. And so as a result, right, by definition, there's one additional overlay on top of that. We're incredibly cheap. So if the transaction is actually priced greater than 7 times EBITDA, it's by definition not our sort of transaction. And so we want transactions with complexity, transactions where the assets are actually undergoing some sort of inflection point, where we can actually recreate and reimagine the asset, reimagine it in a way that's fundamentally different from the way that the current owner thinks about the asset. And so if we can do that, in addition to thinking about targeted ways to innovate around strategy, ops, finance, we actually have a great, we think we have a great opportunity.